Thank you for watching, liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing right now.
You remember what it was like when you were a kid? Unless, of course, you still are. And I'm guessing from the comments that I get on a lot of the YouTube videos and certainly on my blog at chris.pirillo.com that most of my audience happens to be under the age of 21. That's okay. I mean, we can, converse and talk tech with one another online through email or the chat room and whatnot. If we were to ever meet in real life, it's not like we would hang out. It would just be very awkward. Extremely awkward. For me, maybe not so much for you if you're a kid. But that's the great thing about the internet, is you can be mature no matter what age. And, of course, the opposite has certainly been proven time and again. I do have an email here from Amy Greer. The top 5 reasons it is imperative to let your kids use technology. So if you're an adult and you're curious, should I let my kids use tech? Or if you're a kid trying to convince your legal guardian, hey, this is why I need to use technology, here are some points that might help you along. Now, I'm going to leave out Amy's initial story here, but certainly quote it in the corresponding blog post when this goes online. Just go right to the tips. Number 5, letting your child use technology early in life will allow you to instill a respect, not a fear, for technology. The difference between respect and fear is that fear prevents you from doing something. Respect allows you to use a gadget knowing the full power and consequences of using it for both good or bad. It's very true. When I was in college, it kind of shocked me how many people really didn't want to get on the internet. Like, they were afraid of it. They barely even knew how to use a word processor. Granted, it was like 1992, but by then, computers have been around long enough. Maybe not. Today, though, I can't imagine a college campus where someone wasn't wanting to get on the internet. I guess it's just a matter of how you were raised, or if the tech was there. I mean, certainly, I don't know the youngest in the chat room right now. It looks like Andrew 12 is apparently 11, which is odd. So at 11 years old, my God, when I was in college, when I had graduated from college, you hadn't even been born yet, Andrew. That's sad. Number 4, it will help them advance in school at a faster rate, and that I do believe in. Kids are often made to do testing on the computers, and if it's a part of their early life, they'll be less intimidated by it the time they're facing technology in the classroom. I'd say that familiarity certainly would breed some amount of confidence and hopefully some amount of competence with that. You have to make sure, though, and this is coming from me wearing my teacher hat, not my parent hat, because I'm not a parent. I'm not saying how you should raise your kids. But in an educational environment, as long as you are there as a guidepost, instead of just saying, here, there's the computer, there's the internet, have at it, that's the wrong way to approach it. You're not doing your job as a teacher if you just said, here, read this book. You have to guide, you have to be there and open those lines of communication. And most importantly, and this kind of calls back to our first point, there's relevance to technology. You don't just say, here's a tool. You say, here's a tool, and here's how you use it. Here's what it could be used for, but you hopefully give that child, the ability to decide for him or herself how to use it. And as long as you inspire instead of constrict, I think you'll find that a child will be far more open-minded to, learning on his or her own and leaving you without the fear of, them using it the wrong way. Number 3, learning to use a computer is like learning to walk. It's much easier to learn when you're little than when you get older. And I would certainly say that if I was a kid today, I would just be dying. I mean, I'm serious. This is just it's a good time to be in tech right now. I'm glad I'm my age. I'm glad I was raised the way I was. But certainly every year that goes by, it gets better, faster, easier, just so much more prevalent in our daily lives. And if I had the ability to learn and absorb these things, much like I could have done as a child, I'd be all over this. Number 2, it's a fact of life. Your kid will be using technology for the rest of his or her life, and the ability to adapt to new technology will be made much easier if they use technology at an earlier age. Example, I, after using computers for the past 19 years, as she notes, can pick up just about any technology and within 5 minutes have a basic idea of how it's used, what to do with it, and how to program information into it. I feel that ability would have been dwarfed had I not started using computers at an early age. You have to understand too that, and I think as she and I are, both seemingly adults, and Amy is 20 years old. She says she doesn't know if age is important, but certainly she'd been through childhood. I'm 34 years old, so 14 years older than that, and I've grown up as much as home technology has grown up, at least what we know as modern home technology, and I just loved it, always loved it, and have had very little issues in picking up new things. Number 1, letting your child use the computer gives you the opportunity to spend quality time with them and allows you to let them know what you know. Allows you to, as well as allows you to know what they know. By sitting with your child when he or she is learning to play the computer, it allows you to communicate with them what a tool and opportunity the computer has or is, what it holds, and as a parent you have the power to shape your child's outlook on how they use the computer. Example, she noted in her paragraph, which we'll be including, that she had been mentored by her grandfather. And as long as those lines of communication are completely open, I honestly think the sky's the limit. And I know that some adults are a little intimidated when, well, they're either their children or certainly people younger than they know more. I think it's sort of empowering. It's good to know that these younger generations aren't being lost to video games, and I know a lot of people love video games, but that's just a small part of what can be gained from technology, even though they may spend most of their time playing those games and talking about it in the chat room. No matter if you are a parent, you have some more tips to pass along in terms of how you have done your best to incorporate technology in your child's life, or maybe just the opposite. If you haven't really opened that world to your child, you may have your reasons. I'd just be curious to know. My email address is chris@pirillo.com. Of course, you're also welcome to swing by the chat room, which is usually full of adults and children, but we do our best to keep it family-friendly. I am a very family-friendly kind of guy. 1999 and IE5, dude, no. I have a t-shirt that says I downloaded IE4, it was called the Midnight Madness t-shirt when Internet Explorer 4 was released out of beta. I downloaded that on a dial-up modem at a farmhouse in Iowa. That was good times. Good times. Anyway, if you'd like to wax pathetic with the rest of us, you're welcome to stop by and say hello. I'm streaming this live video feed out over the internet. Currently, 1,400 people are watching, which is good. We have substantially less in the chat room since the video is separate from the chat room, but we try to include the chat room in with the videos. You're free to stop by anytime, day or night. We're at live.pirillo.com. We'll see you later.